Alright, so I am comparing between the Huawei Mate 20 Pro and the LG G7. This is the front-facing camera, and just to see the difference in audio between these two cameras. So the one thing I'm really excited about is comparing the wide angle, the ultra wide angle camera lens, because that is one of the most exciting things I like about these cameras, is the wide angle look. For video, they both shoot at 1080p, but for pictures, it's a big jump. Now for the Mate 20 Pro, is at 24 megapixels, while the LG G7 is all the way down at 8 megapixels. So we'll see how they compare. So if you ever want to vlog with your Huawei P20 Pro without using your front-facing camera with that 1080p limit, then you can just switch it to super ultra wide mode and then turn it around and you should be all good. You can shoot 4K and you are in focus and you are in frame. Alright, starting off with the front-facing camera, I would say that the LG G7 looks more vibrant and more punchy. And in portrait mode, the LG G7 looks more natural while the Mate 20 Pro looks a lot more artificial. So for the front-facing camera, I'll give it to the LG. Moving on to the back, they both take really good pictures. The Mate 20 Pro has a 40 megapixel while the LG G7 has a 16 megapixel camera. The biggest difference here is the Mate 20 takes a much more warmer picture while the LG takes a much more cooler picture. Now moving on to dynamic range, the Mate 20 Pro is clearly the winner here. The grass is nice and green on the Mate 20 while the LG, it's pretty much lost, it's really dark. Now moving closer with the ultra wide angle, again the Mate 20 still wins here. Everything is exposed, but the clouds may look too over processed while the LG looks more softer. So I feel like it comes down to what you like, what kind of colors you like, and of course the Mate 20 looks a bit more processed over the LG photos. And the Mate 20 Pro takes higher resolution pictures. For low light, the Mate 20 Pro wins with the better dynamic range again. Even in this dark, the LG pops up with that super bright camera mode, and it still doesn't really help. Now Huawei have their own night mode, and for some reason it doesn't take as bright as a picture in auto mode, but then again it is still sharper and more detailed when taken in night mode. So with or without night mode, ultra wide or not ultra wide, the Mate 20 Pro still wins in low light. Now going over the UI, they are both similar in the layout, but I would say the Mate 20 Pro looks a little bit more cleaner. What I do like about the LG is how you switch from or to the ultra wide. It's a press of a button and you can tell with the three trees, while in the Mate 20 Pro you pretty much have to slide down or press the button multiple times because it goes through the telephoto options first, and then it goes to the ultra wide last. Now capturing audio, I would say the LG is just a little bit louder. It's a hair fuller for me, but I'll let you guys listen and you guys can decide which one you think is better. I wrote this song for you. Oh, what a thing to do. And it was called Yellow. So then I took my turn. Alright, so testing the stabilization on 1080p. On LG, I can see it is little jitters going on, while the Mate 20 Pro looks pretty smooth. And turning over to the ultra wide mode, the Mate 20's stabilization looks a little bit wonky or a little bit jello-y, while the LG looks more smoother than the Mate 20 Pro. So it looks like they kind of switch roles here. Alright, now moving on to 4K footage. The Mate 20 Pro looks a lot better because it has that AIS going on, while the G7 doesn't look like it has any at all. So in 4K, the Mate 20 Pro obviously wins because it's pretty much stabilization versus no stabilization. And testing out the wide angle and see how that works, I would say it doesn't work as well as the main camera on the Mate 20, but then again, it still looks like it has some stabilization, while on the G7, it looks like it doesn't have any at all. So testing out dynamic range on the video side, the Mate 20 Pro still wins, just like on the photo side. The LG sometimes can come really close, but on the Mate 20 Pro is more constant, and overall on the Mate 20 Pro it's more exposed for the most part. Now if you're not finding yourself in situations where there's a lot of highlights and you need to expose for the dark areas, I would say the color on the LG G7 is much more saturated and much more punchier than the Mate 20 Pro. Now looking at this ultra wide image here, it looks like the LG G7 is also wider, so if you really need that wide shot or you want it to be as wide as you need it to be, then the LG G7 got it. Now here's the last shot where it shows everything what I've said before. The Mate 20 Pro is much more exposed while the LG has more punchier colors. As you can tell in the buildings,
it pops out more. You can see the red coming out on the LG, while the Mate 20 Pro has a better dynamic range. Moving on to low light, shooting video or just capturing pictures, the screen looks a lot more blurry and it looks like it's on really low shutter speed, while on the Mate 20 Pro looks completely fine. Now this is just previewing before you record anything, but once you record something, it works just fine. So doing a stabilization test in low light, it's a huge difference. Now, of course, the LG doesn't have stabilization. In this case, it looks like it works in favor for the LG because the images or the footage look pretty clear. Now on the Mate 20 Pro, it's trying to stabilize itself, therefore it's making this blurry image. Now, of course, that's just the effect of stabilization, but in this case, it does look much more worse. Now, some people would still like the image stabilization look because it looks much more smoother, while the LG got a much more handheld look, but it really depends on the person and which one they think it's better. On the main camera, as you can tell, the leaves are still green on the LG G7, while on the Mate 20 Pro, it looks more muted. Now, testing out the ultra-wide mode, you can clearly tell here that the Mate 20 Pro lost pretty much most of its color, while the LG still kept its color. I would say the LG shows more noise and more artifacts, but then again, it doesn't look almost black and white like the Mate 20 Pro. Another thing, the Mate 20 Pro looks like it's shot in slow shutter speed. As you can tell, it's kind of giving that laggy look, while the LG is much more smoother. Here's another example where you can tell with the leaves blowing in the wind, it looks much more smoother on the LG, and the colors are still more vibrant. Now keep in mind that we are shooting in ultra wide angle, which this only happens on the Mate 20 Pro, but if you're switching back to the normal lens, then both of these lenses will look completely fine. So that is it. That is my comparison. The big thing that stuck out to me is the Mate 20 Pro has the better dynamic range, while the LG G7 has better colors in video. So if you got any questions, let me know down below so I can answer them for you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.